Welcome to the show. This is Charlton and Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports have been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners here on the iHeartRadio network, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And you know, we've even had some tweets coming in from Germany, had some good old boys from Russia tweeting out the Big C Sports. Want to thank my good old boys down there in Australia, down on the land. I think they sing that song, The Land Down Under, Big C. And you know, there's no one I love more than these good old boys up north in Canada. And because the Raptors are hanging tough against the Cavaliers, I'm going to give you good old boys a treat from Canada. I'm going to say, whoa, Canada, our home in native land. And that's for all you good old boys, Big C. I know I at least scored 5 out of 10 on that one. And I also want to say today is a beautiful May the 2nd, 2017, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south of the land of the free and the home of the brave, Big C?
Well, Charles, I was hoping that the Raptors' chances might be better than you should in the next game. I think about equal. So you didn't hit a home run. I don't think they got a home run in this series. So, you might have to set a couple of mountains down for you
Well, I did my best, especially because the Raptors are trying to hang tough against them good old boys. Tonight we have some NBA action over here in Oakland, California at the Oracle Arena, watching the Golden State Warriors get ready for the Utah Jazz. And Gordon Hayward coming in here for the Jazz, played at Butler. We know Steph Curry played at Davidson. These are two small colleges that have actually marquee players on their teams. Should be a great matchup tonight, but Golden State's actually a favorite by 13.5, and we know Boston and Washington, they're just tipping off on the East Coast, Big C, and that game has Boston favored by 5.5. But Big C, I want to bring up a few things before we get into this program today for Big C Sports. I want to just say, number one, I commend you for coming up with Big C Sports back in the day when we started over at Salem Media, took their sports program to #1 in the country, and then we started Big C Sports. Guess what I saw today on ESPN? My good friends have a baseball show called Live Talk, and they have a show, and the theme music is called Welcome to the Show. I mean, I can't get my voice to go that high, Big C, but it is called Welcome to the Show called Live Talk. Also, I saw some underwear company. You know how we say we're the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys? Well, you'll see it on ESPN. They have this good old boy modeling underwear, and he's standing out there in the universe, Big C, and they said we're the #1 underwear in the universe. I wonder where they got that from, Big C. Also, last thing, Stephen A. Smith, them good old boys, were talking about Russell Westbrook being the MVP this year, and instead of having a basketball in his hand as he's driving to the basket, they have him holding up the Big C Sports logo, which is Mother Earth, which I know you good old boys love for all the great things she's obliged to you, Big C. But they had Westbrook driving to the basket, and he's holding the earth in his hands, and that's the same earth that's in the middle of the Big C on Big C Sports. Big C, what do we do about all the plagiarism going on, Big C?
Yeah. One of the things, even with the plagiarism going on, Jonathan, the reality is that we're original. And that we can go levels that these people cannot go to.
Yeah.
You know, when you spend your time copycat from somebody, it's always understood that it's not sincere, you know, when someone is listening to you, because you're struggling trying to put it together.
Yeah.
What we bring to people, Charlton, on a daily basis with the lack of knowledge and technological support that we have, it's something that's genuine.
Yeah.
And so that can't be plagiarized. You can take tidbits of what we do, but you cannot make us, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Well,
we're not bragging, but we're going to get out there. So, it's an honor that they plagiarize.
And it's funny because I love seeing, it's like, is that Big C? Big C, you didn't tell me you were on ESPN. They're using all of our stuff that they get on the program now, Big C. And I do want to say that Big C does his show from 3,000 miles away on a boat, okay? So that's one of the funny things about it. Sometimes you can hear the fish flopping around, but it's okay. We keep it strong, Big C. I do want to bring up something that's kind of a touchy issue because, you know, it's real talk. And as African Americans, we know we just celebrated Jackie Robinson for baseball. But the good old boys over in Boston, which is a great sports town, Boston and Massachusetts has some great people. There's always a few knuckleheads in any city. But what happened with them good old boys using the N-word like they were in a rap concert, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, you know, we think about the outfielder from the Orioles, Jones. it's a shame that here it is. We're celebrating the 70th year of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, or
Yeah.
you can call it Branch Rickey.
Yeah.
Plagiarizing the Negro Leagues and stealing players. But, for having players today, having to go through a game and listen to these racial epithets, I know it's true because
Yeah.
even though I've been out of the game some 30 years, I know these things exist in Charleston because they existed when I played.
Yeah.
And society hasn't changed enough to think that we bypass all that, especially when you have a guy that, is perpetrating as president of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And he used racial epithets during his campaign and saying we should go back before where we didn't have political correctness, where we could do and say what we wanted to say.
Yeah.
Advocated that, Charlton, during his campaign.
Yeah.
And so people have done that, Charlton. They followed his lead. And so, there's buffoonery wherever you go. But I do, praise the owner of the club talking about taking away these guys' tickets for life.
Yeah.
That's what you do to people like that. Put them up on a billboard because you know who they are. Put a picture of them up talking about
Yeah.
Boston's racist.
Yeah.
That's what they should have. A couple of billboards up in the city on major beltways saying Boston's racist.
Yeah, and I see.
Most appalling part, Charlton,
Yeah.
is that you got sportscasters in Boston saying, where's the proof? Because these guys are racist.
Yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
Racism has always existed in Boston. It's existed since colonial times.
Yeah.
But even today, to have people go on television and advocate it, these sports talk show guys, Charlton, said, show us the proof because we don't believe it.
Yeah.
Because they believe it, they just don't believe that somebody said it where everybody else can hear it.
And Big C, that's a very good point. I want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And so, Big C, I just want to take a little, chance to say that all people can stop this, white and black. Dr. King marched with not just black Americans. He marched with a lot of people, from Jews to he marched with people who were considered themselves Germans, people who were Native Americans, people who were African American, Hispanic Americans. There were so many people that marched with Dr. King. And I just want to make sure that, some people want to be bigots, and that's what Donald Trump is. So he espouses those kind of views, even though they use coded speak now, because they think a lot of people are too ignorant to understand what coded speak is. But we understand it. But it goes on. It's going to go away as more good people shout out the bad people. That's the same thing you got to do. That's what we do all the time on Big C Sports. I also want to bring something up, too, that's very important as we get ready for Golden State and Utah tonight here at the Oracle Center here in gorgeous Oakland, California, Big C. I want to just bring up, there were some studies on a local newspaper, actually a national newspaper, and they were talking about the draft and how the Raiders got a kid that was accused of assault. And one of the ladies wrote about, is the NFL really serious against sexual assault, or is it just lip service? I want to say they're more serious about it when the accused happens to be African American, because they were not serious about it when the New York Giants hit their kicker that had over 20 sexual assault allegations against him. In fact, I guess his wife called 911 20 times, and they kept him on the team, the Mara family, the proud family of the American New York Giants, right? They protected the guy who battered his wife, okay? This is not something he was accused of. It was a fact. Also, Johnny Manziel, he broke I think he broke a bone or an eye socket in some girl he was dating. He's a white guy.
Matter of fact, he had several offenses prior to his management from the NFL talking.
Yeah.
And he was a media darling. They were trying to find excuses for Johnny Manziel and his misconduct with women, beating women, assaulting women. I look at the Joe Mixon scenario, Charlton.
Yeah.
The young man out of Oklahoma. This is an incident that happened when he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Entering the University of Oklahoma as a freshman. He was suspended by the university.
Yeah.
The young woman assaulted him first. He reacted. They both were charged with misdemeanor assault.
Yeah.
He took a year's suspension. All he could do was go to school.
Yeah.
He worked on his academics. He changed his perspective on life, Charlton. He proved that he had character.
Yeah.
But, I still listen to these anal people in the media talking about there's a character question on Joe Mixon. Okay? How many friends that they have hit women? Whether it's a woman or a man talking about this Joe Mixon scenario, they can always point to someone that they know directly that has struck a woman, but they're not going on television advocating. They're not even calling that person's job saying you should fire them and never hire them.
And you know,
okay?
that's a
and
very...
a lot of them have been assaulted, Charles. They're
Yeah.
not telling their employers, fire me forever.
Yeah, and that's a very good point you bring up. And again, you know, Brock Osweiler, he was on videotape pushing a woman twice in a pizza parking lot down in Houston. He got $73 million, but he's white. Okay, I just want people to see that. And I want these people that do this, what do they call it, analytics? I want them to use analytics on how many times a white player is accused of assault. The guy at Stanford that raped a woman and got 3 weeks in jail, or was it 3 months in jail? And,
It's like 3 weeks.
okay, 3 months, kind of like 3 weeks in a boy club. And that's how valuable the judge said this white woman that was assaulted by this white boy, okay? We don't have Mixon on tape doing anything that horrendous. The thing with Osweiler, there are also a couple of NFL quarterbacks with $100 million salaries that were sexually assaulted a woman twice and actually paid her off. The NFL did just stop the season for that. But these black players, they always want to call a conference and make it a big issue. But when the white boys do it, where there's Bill O'Reilly, Fox News gave him $25 million for sexually assaulting over 17 women. They didn't cancel Fox News. It's always illegal. It's always something we should shun our faces on. And when President Trump brags about grabbing women by the vagina, he still became the president of the United States, mostly by the white vote. Okay, so this garbage about let's hold a black guy up and castrate him in front of the public because of something he's accused of. You know that white guys have done it, and they still become president, and they still get to work on Fox News for decades, Big C. So just your thoughts before we get into a little bit more of what's going on in the sports world.
Well, Charles, it's so profound that, you know, how it's gauged by society. When we look at, you know, you talked about Tiger Woods, you know, marital situation many times, and his wife assaulted him. But he was the one that lost the money. Yeah. Because of his wife's assault on him. You know,
it's because his wife was white. It's because his wife was white, Big C. Let's be real. His wife was Caucasian. There are a lot of good old boys that still don't like miscegenation. They don't like blonde hair, blue eyes, chasing down black men. It wasn't a black man chasing white girls. It's this groupie mentality, and they all are trying to get black men. That's just part of the athletic world. But a lot of good old boys don't like that, and that's why they had so much hatred for Tiger Woods, because there's a lot of golfers that do the same stuff, and we know it if we're going to be honest, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, there's a lot of athletes that do it up and down the ledger. I remember years ago that, you know, Wade Boggs, you know, one of the greatest Boston Red Sox of all time, third baseman, you know, traveled his girlfriend on the road for 12 years. 12 years.
Yeah.
You know, no one said anything negative about it. No one knew about it until she came out in Playboy magazine.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, you know, but, you know, this is done.
And no one protested Wade Boggs.
Steve Garvey did it with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know, some of the greatest white athletes of all time.
Yeah.
You know, it's been okay to have these businesses to travel around the country while the wife staying home with the kids.
Well, look at
Then all of a sudden you say, well, you know, this black athlete did it. You know, wow. You know, how atrocious of him.
Well, let's bring this up too, because it's real talk. Okay, we can't be like all the other stations and just want to pat people in the back. Even Donald Trump, I think, is on his 4th or 5th marriage now, in several relationships where he bragged about being what they call a playboy, Big C, where he bragged about how many times he had a sexual concubine, and that was even in one of the newspapers back in the day, and he bragged about that, okay? He just did this thing recently.
He used to brag about having the cocaine party.
Yeah, same thing.
Back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I used to go on these cocaine binges and attract all these women because he could afford the power.
And that's something that Tim Wise broke about. It's called white privilege. And Tim Wise is an author. He's a Jewish guy. He's not a black guy. He wrote about white skin privilege. So I just want to call out all the media that want to hold a national press conference when an African-American male is accused of anything. Any man accused of assault should be held accountable, especially Donald Trump and Bill O'Reilly. But they patted him on the back for years. If this black guy, they want to say, we should take away his money. They didn't take away Donald Trump's money. In fact, Congress just approved $120 million a year to protect Donald Trump and his properties and his family. $120 million a year to protect the guy that brags about grabbing women by the vagina, Big C.
Well, you know, this is the reason why you're not taking a salary, okay? What does that $400,000 a year mean when a
Nothing. The chump change.
Family $120 million a year?
Yeah.
When he's talking about American First, Charlton, about building up America, when you're taking $120 million, Charlton, to basically support your billionaire family?
Yeah.
Why does he take this out of his own pocket? Since he says he doesn't need the salary, why doesn't he pay for his own security, Charlton? If his family was not traveling the
That's a
world
good point.
doing business under the presidential umbrella. Think about that. This is their monument clause.
Yeah.
His family is traveling the world doing business under the presidential umbrella. funded by the taxpayer who he is not giving a break to in any kind of way.
That's true.
He's talking about creating jobs for Americans. So when his kids are in foreign countries negotiating business deals, how many of those dollars are going to come to America to help Americans seek employment, Charleston, out of that $120 million that's paid to protect them during their world business travel?
Big C.
They're not out there doing political business, Charleston. They're out there doing personal business for the Trump organization. And the American taxpayer who says, give this guy a chance, find out what part of that $120 million are going to help you and your family in your future over the next 4 years as far as obtaining employment.
And is it going to help our grandparents if they have social services cut from them? I was at a convention over the weekend with Les Brown, the number one motivational speaker in the United States of America, and arguably the best in the world. Very, very well-spoken, very compassionate. Les Brown overcame a lot of trials and tribulations growing up too, but he didn't let it stop him. He overcame the racism and all the other garbage that's out there. And there's another lady that I met, Alexis Jones. She actually is married to a former NBA basketball player, and she played to USC. She's doing a story on ESPN, Alexis Jones, and she talks about how to stand up to sexual assault. And as I had this conversation with her, I said, it's a wonderful thing that you're out there doing these speeches about 300 times a year on how to stand up against sexual assault. But it's a shame that even though ESPN is a worldwide leader in sports, and she's doing something with the Pac-12 coming up also, it's a shame that President Trump, okay, he can never join her in stamping down sexual assault because he's been one of the biggest predators out there. So for everyone that wants to say this player that was drafted by Oakland should have his salary taken away from him and make him hold out, no, hold out POTUS first. Let's get the money from the people at the top. They're giving POTUS $120 million. And I hear some of these same media pundits saying, don't give this guy a contract until we see whether he's innocent or guilty. POTUS said he was guilty with his own mouth, Big C, as well as O'Reilly. I just think there's a double standard. And before I get your last thoughts on our final segment, Big C, I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation of this billion-dollar industry. If you need athletic and event insurance, tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. We go through Ben and Mark, which has been around for half a century, Big C. We got you covered for pro, collegiate, also your high school and mom and pop. Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Big C, as we get into the world of the NBA again, I just want to get your thoughts over here in Oakland before they tip off tonight. You know, Gordon Hayward played at a small college, Butler. Steph Curry played at Davidson, two small-time colleges. They're the marquee guys for their teams, Big C. Your thoughts on this game? Golden State's favored by 13.5. I think that's too much. More like 10 points is what I'm thinking. Your thoughts on that game coming up, Big C?
Well, you know, this is a game, Charlton, where people did not expect for Utah to be there. Everybody thought that the Clippers would get there and get blown out in the second round.
Yeah.
Utah is an organization that has had a rich history in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
You go back to the days of Stockton and Malone. You know, they've been to the NBA Finals along with having Brian Russell on that team. And, you know, Michael Jordan Magic was pushed away and no one saw.
Yeah.
And made the game-winning shot. But, you know, this team has come back. They developed. You know, Quinn Snyder, former coach at the University of Missouri, has been very quiet. He's been under the radar. You know, people talk about Billy Donovan leaving Florida and other coaches.
Yeah.
You know, the kid in Boston. But, you know, Quinn Snyder has come to Utah. You know, not a large market, you know, as people want to look on the NBA radars.
Yeah.
But he has built this organization, Charlton. He's taken a lot of young players and developed them. And they're coming to the precipices of the NBA. You know, they're playing the Warriors in Western semis.
Yeah. And I tell you, Big C, there's something I love about the Coliseum. It's a great place at Oracle Arena to watch a game. Outside, you see where the Raiders play and where the Oakland A's play. There's championships in the three sports organizations here. Back in the day, they had a team called the Oakland Invaders that were part of a new startup league, I think the USFL. So a lot of good sports have been played over here on these hallowed grounds. You think about some of the owners. I mean, just think about some of the owners that have been around here. Not only did you have, right now you have Coach Kerr, this is where John Madden, his stomping grounds, Kenny the Snake Stabler, Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, you know, Billy Martin, so many great players that have played in this one half a block radius where you have two major structures that are going to be obsolete, Big C. Yeah. Yeah.
Back in 75.
I tell you, with that, Big C, you know, they're going to be gone. We know the Raiders are going to Las Vegas in 2 years. And Golden State, in 2 more seasons, they're tipping off on the Embarcadero in San Francisco. Great place for sports, but why are so many people leaving these older places, Big C? Your thoughts?
What has happened, Charlton, is that the inner city is unattractive business-wise.
Yeah.
When you think about where a lot of the older arenas are, and so there's not dollars being spent after an event. And when you think about these arenas, these are multi-purpose arenas. You think about places like Chavez Ravine in Los Angeles, not too far down the road.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with Chavez Ravine, but a beautiful facility nevertheless.
Yeah.
But when you go to the East Coast and you start looking at these arenas, you look at Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
You look at Yankee Stadium, and they're right in the mega structure of everything. So all the amenities, the cafes, and hotels are right there next to the Staples
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. Right downtown, Charlton. You look at Atlanta when they're building the new stadium. Right next to the old Georgia Dome, when you call the stadium old, it's 20, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Ironic. Even in Atlanta, they just opened up a new baseball stadium this year.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And the last one opened up in '96 for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So, when you look at the movement around, you look up in Seattle where they put everything in the downtown corner with the 2 stadiums that they have there, the baseball and football stadiums, Jonathan.
Yeah.
These arenas are moving to where they're accessible in Dallas. You have American Airlines Arena, which is right downtown. So not only do you leave the event to tell them that whether it's an MMA event, Jonathan, a WWE event, a basketball game, a monster truck event, you can go and spend auxiliary dollars, Jonathan, within that city. And that's what they're looking at. What will be the overall economic gain of a new arena? But when you look at the Warriors, where they are this year, we all know that they set an NBA record last year for wins, in the season.
Yeah.
Came up a game short of winning a title. But they won the title 2 years ago, Charles. And that record that they had when they won the title, they were 67-15.
Yeah.
Not a bad season overall.
No.
Ironically, Charlton, they duplicated that record this year, 67-15. The same record they had 2 years ago when they won an NBA title. Is it going to be deja vu? Is that an omen?
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. I just want to get your thoughts real quickly here in the final few minutes. Boston and Washington, that game's already started. Just your thoughts on Boston, even though we have the controversy with the baseball, but something about Boston in that city, in the city of sports there. I know they're playing a game tonight. They're favored against Washington by 5.5. Isaiah Thomas makes that team go, Big C. Boston's a great place for sports. That good old boy back in the day, the announcer, I can't remember his name, but I'll never forget a call. It was the Pistons. They were in town. Isaiah Thomas, they were playing Larry Bird and them good old boys. And he said, inbounds the ball, Larry Bird steals the ball, Larry Bird, and then Boston scores. I can't remember his name, but that was a great commentator by Boston and the Celtics. Do they have that same kind of passion back now at T Garden, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, they're trying to build that up, Jonathan. Isaiah Thomas has been a great leader the past 2 years in Boston, and he's worked with a heavy heart. The entire playoff series here with the loss of his baby sister, Jonathan. But, this is what you have to do in sports. You have to separate life from the business. And he's done an admirable job of that. And his team has responded. They went down 0-2 to the Bulls, and everybody thought it was over. They came back and swept the Bulls in the next 4. And they've also won game 1 of this series against Washington. So this is a tremendous organization, Jonathan, with tremendous character.
Yeah.
And you think about the history that they've had. Now, they had the first really dominant African-American players as a group with the Boston Celtics back in the 60s when it was led by Bill Russell, K.C. Jones, Sam Jones. This was the first organization in a racially divided town to put 3 African-Americans out on the floor and start.
That's a good point.
Trailblazers. And from a sports perspective, Jonathan, back in those days, now the hockey team and the baseball team hasn't fared as well. But in the close confines of Boston Garden and now TD Garden, there has been a different relationship with the fans of Boston versus those other more campus arenas.
Yeah. Well, Big C, I think that's great. And also we know tonight just a lot of good things going on in the world of sports. Let me have you close out and your final thoughts on what you're looking forward to, Big C.
Well, Charlton, I'm looking for Boston to go up 2-0. The thing that blew me away was last night was when San Antonio just got blown out. They looked like a tired old team last night against Houston.
Yeah.
I don't think that Houston will let the series go more than 5 games. And when it resumes tomorrow night, I see James Harden still being the same dominant player that he was. But also tonight, y'all, when Adam Jones came up to bat, I want to applaud the fans of Boston, the true baseball fans, who stood up and gave him a standing ovation for the harassment that he had to take last night. And those sports broadcasters that said show us the proof, they should be put on the same highway that Bill O'Reilly was put on and fired with their racial overtones.
Yeah, that's true, because we're anti-sexual assault. We talk about it every program, not just on one certain day. Also in the NHL, some good games going on tonight. Ottawa at the Rangers, St. Louis at Nashville. Hopefully some good games being played there at Big C. I love basketball. I love sports, football. We do it all from the UFC to the NBA, NHL, high school. We even give high school some homage, Big C. But there's one thing I really want to applaud you for. You're one of the most bold individuals I've ever met in my life. You just tell it like it is. And sometimes people say, I've even heard producers say, wow, he's right. I just commend you on being bold and not being a sycophant to the next athlete. I see more people trying to emulate you. We love athletes, okay? If someone's doing great, give them an A. If they're not doing great, then give them an F. Same thing in broadcasting. If we hit the mark, give us an A. If we don't, give us an F. Sometimes the best form of flattery is actually imitation. Big C, I know that you have so much to offer. Maybe it's that moonshine you're sipping, but I wanted you to send some more out here to California because it's been so hot. They could really appreciate it here in the Bay Area. As we close out the show, I want to do it the way you do, as well as anybody does. How do we end this racial incidents that happen all throughout the country, Big C? What would you say to the city of Boston? Your thoughts, Big C?
It comes down to that old analogy, Johnson, that bull riders use. Man up, cowboy up.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do. If you're wrong, admit that you're being wrong.
Yeah.
But to hide in the masses in a stadium and get everybody blamed and laminated for what you do and your cowardice, that's what we have as a president, trying to name an entire culture and for something that one or two individuals may have done wrong, but not naming other cultures, Charlton. So, this is where we are in society. We should be brazen and bold enough to admit to what we do that is wrong.
Yeah.
And once we do that, this is the only way in American society, sports, whatever, that we become equal with each other, that we eliminate racism, injustice, is that we can admit that we're wrong. Not sit there and try to point the finger and say, well, I did it because this happened. If what you did was wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Don't sit up and blame Joe Mixon for what a girl did, say that he's the only one wrong, and try to take his dollar.
Well, Big C, that's...
Find your family members and your friends that have hit someone and turn him into the employee and walk in and say, you should fire this person and never allow them to work again.
Big C, very well said. Every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. There's never any room for domestic violence. If you see anyone in trouble, just call 911. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.